Hey guys, this is Jay Lethal, the Black Machismo, and whoa, the Ninja Boy, and you're listening to the Potsy and Tino
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the Pots and Pants Network brings to you its tag team champions of the world, the Road Dogg Tino Gray, the badass Scissor Me badass Rob Potsy Potchak, the Potsy and Tino Show. Yes, once again, we are brought to you by the Pots and Pans Network, and our theme song, as always, is brought to you by the wonderful group of Adam's House Cat. It's called the Rascal Song. It's available on iTunes for 99 cents.
Meow. House cat, I don't know. I gotta laugh, dude.
So I'm not going to go into why we're an hour late tonight, but I am going to go ahead and say it actually is not my fault.
No, this is I'll take the blame for this time. This is me. What's up, Michael?
What is going on, Michael? Michael, I know that you're probably going to be at Fayetteville Comic Con, and I am working on a piece for that of Lisa Marie Varon, also known as Victoria from the WWE days.
Ooh,
So check out my Twitter page.
I saw it.
If you want to see I posted the color version of it today, Tino. It was black and white last night, but I posted the color version of it. So
Yeah, you sent me the black and white one. So
yes, I had not actually sent myself the color one from my iPad, but now I have. So, but she actually liked and tweeted about it earlier today. So she sounds pretty excited about the piece. So, I also have a Darth Vader piece that is going to be an exclusive because the guy who actually played Darth Vader in Obi-Wan is going to be at that show.
oh,
So I'm working on a piece that will be of him. So the guy, his visage, as well as Darth Vader. So I'm pretty excited about both of those pieces. Working on those right now. Obviously working on some comic book stuff, but I am gonna let you jump into what's up with you.
I'm getting all the results from last week, so we'll have it. Um,
And
I'm
if you
trying to,
don't want to go into tonight's business, you don't have to.
yeah,
Obviously,
yeah.
it's
It's just
personal.
yeah, it's a whole lot going on with my son, but I think I got him straight. Um, what's going on? Not a whole lot. So I worked last week. This weekend I got to chill at home. No, I went to Hickory this weekend. That was a whole lot of fun. So we have this dumb song that we do, and it's just a made up song that we do. We've been doing it for a couple of years. Buddy of mine who I play with up there, he made it up, and so it's a stupid song that he made up, but it's a crowd favorite every time we go up there, and everybody always requests it. It's a little 2 minute stupid song. Um, and the bartender is one of the bartenders. So one of the bartenders, her name is Chris and Brandy loves this song. She tells everybody, and she knows by the first few chords, oh, this is the song. So she had told us earlier. She said, "I have a surprise for you guys later." And we're like, what the hell you got? So to understand the surprise, you got to understand the song. So the song, like I said, it's a stupid song. It's only a couple of verses, and it's called "I Want to Sex You in Half." Okay, and and the verses are, "I want to sex you in half. I want to sex you in two, baby. I want to sex you so hard that when I'm through with you, there'll be two of you, and we can have a three-way."
You
That's
know,
just,
I'm going to tell you right now, if you actually put this together and actually had drums and guitar and everything else, this right here would probably be the number one song in America.
yes, yes, and that's the whole song. It's not even a whole. That's it. That's it,
Well,
right?
you got to do the rest, bro.
No, that's it.
Well,
That's the.
you and I can actually like fill in the rest.
Yeah. So we did this song,
Not
and then
together. That'd be weird. But
well, we do this song. We do it like in this falsetto, stupid, and then we just start the song going. We take turns going, girl, and just doing our best Barry White, girl. While he's playing it, we're like, girl, right? And so we do this song, and then he has a little rap that he does to it, and I usually rap, like Rapper's Delight, or I'll rap, or I'll put Snoop Dogg's in it. So just something stupid to make it last. But the surprise came. So we're doing this song, minding our business, and from behind the bar, the two bartenders come out with CVS bags and proceed to throw panties at us on the stage.
pennies.
Panties, draws, underwear. So we've got all these underwears just laying around just on the floor in front of us, just on the floor. It was priceless. It was awesome.
Sounds like the band needs to start an OnlyFans.
And it was just we laughed and laughed, and it was awesome. So
So
that was
so you know how I just said I thought you said throwing pennies, right?
mhm.
So when I worked at Best Buy way back in the day, I held a contest for my team members, right? And the winner was going to get $100.
Ooh.
Okay,
Mhm.
and it was $100 of my own money because like I knew that if we won the contest, like the overall like corporate contest, I was going to get more than $100. So I put $100 of my own money on this, right? And we won. So I got it was probably like a $500 prize. Then all of a sudden after taxes, I made like $250, right? But the winner of my team ended up getting $100. Well, I knew that he liked going to the strip club.
You did not give him $100 in pennies.
I did not, but close,
Oh,
but close, because he thought I was giving him $100 in ones, and I
mm.
did, except I gave him $100 in $1 coins. And he came into work that Monday after I gave him 250 rolls of $1 coins, and he said, "Rob, I hate you so much." And I was like, "Tori, why do you hate me so much?" And he goes, "Because those girls did not like me throwing those $1 coins."
Oh my God, that's terrible.
And I was like, "Tori, you didn't really throw those coins, did you?" He's like, "I tried to make that shit rain, but they were saying it hurt."
He said, "I'm gonna make it hail."
He made it sleet. He made it hail. He made.
Oh, my God, he didn't get kicked out. I'm surprised they didn't kick him out.
Well, apparently the only reason why they didn't kick him out is because he was a regular there. But if he had been like if it was his first time in the place, they would have
He'd have
kicked him.
been gone.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I purposely made it coins because I didn't want them doing something like that.
That didn't stop him. How'd that work for you?
It did not stop him. It did not stop him. He had a good night though, apparently. So
Okay.
so this past weekend I was in South Carolina.
With Shane, right?
Yeah, well, Shane and my sister Shorty.
And Shorty. Okay.
They invited me down to be part of a charity golf tournament, and it got rained out.
So what happened?
Well, we played 7 holes,
Mm-hmm.
and it rained, and
7
rained,
holes.
and rained, and rained. Um, and we were like, so we're all waiting in our golf carts at the beginning, right? And the guy is sitting there, and it's for 9/11 weekend, and it's a charity golf tournament to go towards like veterans and stuff like that. And this guy who's running the whole thing has a color guard out there, and he's got so the kids with the flags and everything. And for like 15 minutes, he's like, "Does anybody know where Travis is? Does anybody know where Travis is?" And Shane and I are sitting in the cart. We're like, "Who the fuck cares where Travis is at this point? Like, we're only gonna get like 8 minutes of clear sky here. Can we just go to our golf hole and start playing? Because you guys obviously are going to make us drive out to these golf holes regardless." And we literally waited for 15 minutes. We finally drive to the golf hole, and it starts pouring. Fucking pouring, Tino. And the whole time, Shane and I are sitting there like, which one of us is going to throw a golf club further than we hit the golf ball?
Oh my
Because
God.
it's so slippery. You're going to lose. And I because of that, I just played like total shit. Like I could not hit the golf ball. I was worried that I was going to end up throwing I've got $1,000 worth of golf clubs. I was afraid to throw one of these golf clubs. So I'm like, all right, we're just going to try. And finally I did get one really good shot off. So this golf tournament was what they call a captain's choice golf tournament, which means out of the 4 people, you use whoever's shot is the best shot, right?
Right.
Well, my sister gets to go off the ladies' tees. And the ladies' tees on this thing were further than we could hit the ball. So she got to sit there and just hit her 100 yards or whatever. And it'd be like, okay, well, I guess we're using mine. Because we couldn't hit that far.
Right.
And I'm able to hit the golf ball, I don't know, 270 yards at this point. Like I have, when I'm hitting the ball well, I can hit a really good golf shot. And she'd outdrive me by like 65 yards. And she only hits the ball 100 yards. So what's that tell you?
She's wow.
So yeah, what's up, Chris Barrett? So they rained us out after 7 holes. We went, we got with, they provided breakfast, they provided lunch. But then after that, we were like, okay, well now what the fuck do we do? So we went to the brewery, or not the brewery, but the distillery that's right there. And you know what? I'll be right back because I'm gonna grab what I bought while I was there. And I was hoping you were gonna be here tonight because I thought that you would actually want to try this.
I'll try it next week.
Well, that's if it's still here.
Oh,
because you know me. I like my bourbons. I like my bourbons like I like my. I would say like I like my women, except I don't like my women smoky. So there's this bourbon that I got at 1233 Distillery called Big Six Straight Bourbon Whiskey. So 1233, by the way, is the name of, well, it's actually the date that Prohibition was ended.
Oh, okay.
So December of 1933 was when Prohibition ended. So that's why they call their distillery 1233.
Okay.
This is their bourbon. They also have plenty of other liquors there because they have liqueurs. And this past weekend was the only weekend the entire year that you could get their coconut liqueur, which is just a regular all year round one, I guess. Their pumpkin liqueur, which is only for Halloween and fall, and their peppermint liqueur, which is only for Christmas.
Right.
They had all three of them there.
You try them all?
So I'd already tried most of them. But my sister, so you go to so normally a distillery, like in North Carolina, the distillery will let you sit there and drink and drink and drink. They don't seem to care. But in South Carolina, you can only have 2 drinks at the distillery. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're trying different drinks and whatever. And my sister goes to grab bottles, and she grabs, because at the distillery you buy the liquor bottles.
Okay.
That's how I got this, right?
Okay.
So she buys 6 bottles.
How much are the bottles?
Well, $40 a piece.
Okay.
But she buys 6 of them.
Yeah.
So before you know it, like between the 2 drinks each, me buying a bottle and her buying 6 bottles, there's a $400 tab.
Yeah.
And originally they had said, yeah, Rob, if you pick this up, then blah, 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 whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not picking up your liquor bottles. Like, especially because what they're really buying the bottles for is Christmas presents for other people. Because certain people like certain liqueurs, right?
Gotcha.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm not buying your Christmas presents for other people. Like, you go fuck yourselves. Like, I'll buy my bottle and I ended up buying dinner that night because we went to an Italian restaurant that was really good, called Gio's, and but I bought dinner that night because I was like, okay, they've already, they paid for my liquor at the distillery and they paid for my golf and I owe them back for that, so I'm gonna pay up, somehow. But like originally they were like, yeah, if you buy at the distillery, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not an idiot, guys. Come on now. Like,
Right.
I know better than that. So, but yeah. So that I mean, it was a great trip. It rained almost the entire weekend. Interestingly enough, though, we looked at the weather pattern for Sunday on my like as I was getting ready to drive home, and if I had waited like 30 minutes longer, I would have hit rain the entire way. But instead, I ended up making it all the way back to Raleigh without hitting rain at all.
Nice.
And it insane, because like originally, like as I'm leaving their house, it's telling me it's going to be 3 hours and 40 minutes to get home. And normally it's about 3 hours and 10 minutes or whatever. And it's saying 3 hours and 40 minutes, which means I'm going to hit traffic. Right.
Right.
And I'm like, oh God, this is going to be a long fucking trip. Well, 10 minutes into the trip, it's like, we found a faster route. And I'm like, of course I want to take the faster route. Okay, well, that cut 20 minutes off. Then all of a sudden, like 30 minutes further down the road, we found a faster route. Okay, cut another 20 minutes off. And I'm like, all right, now I'm down to a 3-hour trip. Perfect, right? And it really was. Like, I didn't miss, like, anything. And it was like a 3-hour trip back. But it shocked me that it was telling me it was going to be almost 4 hours, both to get there on Friday night and on Sunday afternoon. I was like, this is ridiculous. It's never that long. Like, what the fuck is going on here?
So how long did it take you to get there Friday?
It took about 3 hours and 15 minutes.
Okay.
So
but it said 4.
It took a little bit longer, but like even that, here's what was crazy. Okay, so normally when I'm leaving Raleigh or I'm leaving Durham, you got to go through Raleigh all the way up through Fayetteville, and you basically take 40 normally, right? Well, remember that little road, that little side road that I took us on to get down to South Point so we could go see the wrestling? Well, it basically said, hey, instead of hopping on 40, stay on that 885, which becomes a toll road, so I'm going to owe some money for it. But it's like, stay on the toll road, and then after you get into Apex, so right down the road from your house,
right,
it's like, okay, we're going to take you on 301, 401, 701.
Yeah.
901, whatever, like all these different 01 roads. And I never got on the highway. Ever.
It took you back roads.
Well, it was still 55 miles an hour roads, but it wasn't 40 and it wasn't 95.
Got it.
So I missed that spot where 40 becomes like a clusterfuck of construction.
Right.
You know, as you're like right when it splits. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
When that road splits, like it becomes a clusterfuck. And I didn't touch any of that. So I stayed. But what shocked me is that I never once got on 95.
Going or coming back?
Coming back. Now, I'm sorry, going. But coming back, I did end up hitting 95 to 40 because it actually is a faster road still.
Right.
But like that first hour on the way back is where like it wants you to sit there and get on all these little like side streets and everything else that are like 20 miles an hour or whatever. And it didn't take me on any of those either. So, but
they're in Myrtle, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So had a decent time while I was there.
I still need to get down there because they keep
Fayetteville Comic-Con, like I've been talking about. You didn't use 95. Everyone uses 95. It's the law. Yeah. So Chris Barrett, you're absolutely right. Normally you do take 95 for everything. And like I said, on the way back, I did take 95 because that was the only way to stay out of the rain. So, which basically meant that I ended up cutting time because I didn't get stuck in rain traffic.
Yeah.
Which would have been a bitch. But yeah. Otherwise, nothing else really going on with me either, man. Like, I've been doing a lot of internal looking and thinking about stuff, and yeah. Otherwise, not a whole lot going on there.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of walking. I've been walking about 2 miles a day, trying to get that going. I got to do my stress test next week. And so it's kind of.
Yeah, when you start walking, obviously I've got the treadmill right here behind me. I need to start doing that again because I need, like, we're doing the Walk for Hope next month, and right now there's no way that I'll make it. Like it's 5 kilometers, and there's no way that I'll make it. So I've got to get myself to where I can sit there on a daily basis and just make that kind of walk. So I almost think what I'm going to do is set the incline at like a high incline, so I have to actually be able to walk it at a high incline. And
so what's the kilometers on? What's that in miles?
So each kilometer is like a kilometer is like a mile.
So you're like 5 miles.
So it's like a 5 mile walk. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's that road that it's 70 where the Angus barn is. So it goes down and then it goes up, and it's a killer of a walk because like you're walking on such an incline trying to get up to Umstead Park, and then you got to come back and do the exact same thing. Like, you know how like the old joke was walking uphill both ways 10 miles to the shit really is uphill both ways, and I don't know how.
So you go up the hill, but then it should be easier to come back down that hill, isn't it?
So here's the thing. You go down the hill at the beginning, and then you have to go up the hill to get into Umstead Park.
Right.
Then when you come back out, you go down the hill, but then you have to go up to get to the end. So it's
like this.
Yes. That's exactly how it is. It's the worst fucking walk ever. Like, you would think that the person running the thing would be like, you know what? We're not going to start it at the Angus barn anymore. What we're going to do is we're going to start it in the park, and you're just going to walk, 5 kilometers.
Yeah.
Because the park is pretty flat. But getting into it, you literally go down, then up, then into the park, make a full loop, come back around, and then go down, and then back up at the end. And every year I cramp up like a motherfucker. So it's next month, so it's going to be interesting. So that's why I know that I've got to get myself like back on the shit and actually like walking myself. Chris Barrett says a kilometer is a fake unit of measure that the French created to mess with us.
Probably. Probably.
Barrett, I salute you on that one, sir. You're pretty correct on that. Otherwise, Tino, yeah, like I've been doing a lot of internal thinking and stuff like that, but you know that's I know everybody likes hearing me talk about that stuff, but I don't really feel like going into it tonight.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, what do you think? But cool.
What do you want me to? I mean, I will. I don't care.
Yeah, because not much happening in wrestling, really. I mean,
Well, a lot happened. A lot's been happening in wrestling. It's just, you know, like it's more speculative than anything else.
Yeah.
It's all right. I'll go into it a little bit because you know, like this lets everybody really think like what's going on with the man and like whether or not they can, you know, feel this way themselves or whatever. I've recently been looking into things when it comes to me and you know, like I guess the easiest way to describe it or say it is that I like affirmation.
Yeah. Everybody does. Who doesn't?
Well, but I didn't always care about it. And what I mean by that, and you may disagree with me, like you're looking at me like,
Yeah, go ahead.
but think about when I lived at North Hills, right?
Right.
I would disappear for months at a time, and people wouldn't hear from me. They wouldn't know like what was going on. Like my family was like, okay, we'll go have our one lunch a week or whatever, and that was like it. And I didn't have to be around people. I didn't have to know people. I didn't have to know what was going on or let people know what was going on with me. Like I didn't post on social media nearly as much as I do now, right? But recently I've realized that I like when people tell me that they care about me.
I should tell you that all the time you didn't know it.
Huh?
I should tell you that. I'm like, dude, you knew people cared about you. What do you mean by you didn't like?
Well, and you're right. Like, see, so other people would have to bring it to my attention. But back then I didn't care. Now it's like I care too much about it.
You were from one end to the other.
And it is, and I don't know if it's because like I went through some, you know, some things where people were like, wow, we care about you, Rob. You know, you're actually, you know, whatever the case might be. But like, and it's not the end of the world one way or another, and it's not bad, it's not good, it's not uh Chris Barrett saying Rob has feelings now. The truth, Chris Barrett, is that I always had feelings. It's just now I actually care about them, and I do like knowing when people actually do care about me or whatever. I remember one of the guys that we hung out with when we were at Baltimore, Drew. I kept walking up to him and I'll be like, Drew, you don't like me very much, do you? And he's like, why would you say that, Rob? Like, why? And it was just a joke that I was sitting there saying it, but I just wanted him to say, no, I actually do care about you. Like, I do like you, you know, like, but I realized that I was sitting there using a passive aggressive behavior to sit there and get someone to sit there and say, Rob, shut the fuck up. I actually do think you're a cool guy. Like, you know, but it was anything I could do to sit there and get affirmation from it, right? And I don't do that anymore, but I have realized recently that like I just randomly send my artwork to people and I go, hey, check out this art, you know? And it's because I want them to sit there and go, that's really good. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like Yeah, Chris, it was Drew Manchu. I always sit there and I'm like, I want you to like this, you know? And
I'm laughing because you'll send stuff to me, and if I see it, I'll say something. But if I don't see it, it'll be like, "Hey, did you see the artwork I sent to him?" Yes, I saw.
yeah, like I sent you the piece of Lisa Marie Varon.
And I've
You
been
didn't
busy.
give
I've
it
been.
back until all of a sudden you sent something about Bobby Fish back to me. And I'm like, I don't have that app on my phone. What the fuck are you sending me?
This
But
is show. This is show the picture of him. He let his beard grow out, like kind of like fill in, but it's still close to shave. And dude looks like he looks like Woody Harrelson.
you know,
But
but you know, like just in general, you know, especially right now, like after whatever it was that I was going through, you know, like I had someone sitting there messaging me, you know, saying, "Hey, have a great day," or "Do this," or whatever, and all of a sudden that just disappeared, right? So now all of a sudden I'm like, man, I really missed that. So so it makes me laugh because a couple of my friends, as a joke, would all of a sudden send me a message that says, "Hey, are you having a good day?" And it's like, fuck you, you know, like you just got told by me that like I missed that from, you
yeah,
know, like
yeah.
you know, a specific person one way or the other. So now Tino sent me the Bobby Fish picture. Wow, he really does look like not as drunk, but he does look like
Yeah.
Woody Harrelson now. Anyways, so yeah, so like I don't know how anybody else feels about that, but like me, I I really like when people want to know what's going on with me at this point in my life. Whereas before I didn't care at all. Like I didn't if I didn't hear from you for a month, it was like, well, okay, whatever. But you know, now I'm reaching out to Mark all the time. I'm reaching out to you all the time. I'm, you know, like Terrence and a bunch of other people. I message all the time, whereas I didn't used to, you know, like, and it was always one of those things where like there were 5 or 6 people where I would message randomly, and Tino, you were always one of those people, but you know, like I'm just sitting there like, okay, well, you know, like nobody knows what's going on with me, nobody knows what's going on with me. Well, it came to my attention just this past week that like my buddy Jeremy that runs one of the movie theaters around here, just out of the blue messages me and he goes, "Hey man, are you doing okay? I haven't heard from you in a while." And then I look at the message, okay, and the message got sent like September 7th or something. And I look at the previous message that we sent each other, and it was like July 9th. It was 2 months ago. And yet, you
Wow.
know, he's like, I hadn't heard from you in a while. And it's like, yeah, man, I'm doing all right. You know, like I went through some shit, whatever, did this, did that, whatever. But, and he's like, yeah, I'm not even at the same movie theater anymore. And I'm like, what? Like, I never thought you'd leave that place. But, anyways, so
Was
yeah,
that our?
so
Was that dude over there by where you used to work? We used to go to the movies there.
yeah, so he used to be at the North
Yeah.
Hills Theater, but now he's at a different theater. So I got to find a new place to go see Clerks 3 this week. So
You can't go to his place.
they're not showing it. It's
Ah,
one of the Fathom events, so like you have to find a specific thing, kind of like what we went to go see with the paper.
AEW.
It's a Fathom event, so but yeah, weird enough. Anyways, so yeah, so that's really what's going on. I've been doing some artwork, preparing for more pages of Immortal, but the artist Rob Nico basically said that he really didn't like the way that page 4 was coming along, so he started it over. So I keep telling him, I'm like, hey, you know, like it's okay. Let me see the pages before you say they don't look like they're coming along, so that way we can determine whether or not the page is fine or whether or not it needs to be redone going forward. So we'll see how that goes going forward. But yeah, so that's where I'm at. Uh, yeah, ready to talk about wrestling?
Let's talk about wrestling. So probably the main thing. Okay, we've got
NXT
NX,
2.0.
NXT last week, and we kind of started watching it there after we did the show. I'm trying to find out. I just had it up. Yeah. So the results. Come on. Oh, they don't make them in bold. I actually got to read this. So it starts out with Tyler Bate was in the ring. He was saying thank you and blase blase and putting people over. Then Gallus came out talking shit. Said no, you disappointed. You let the UK down. Blah 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 blah. They jumped in the ring. They were about to attack him.
Tyler Bate, by the way.
Huh?
Tyler Bate. You said
What?
Tyler Banks.
Tyler what?
Tyler Bate.
Who did I say?
Tyler Banks.
I don't know who the hell that was. Okay, Tyler Bates. I don't know why I said Banks. Tyler Bates was in the ring. He's about to get jumped. Breaker came out and helped him out, and so that set up a tag match with them for later.
Instead of worlds collide, worlds come together, or some dumb shit like that. Yeah,
Some Scott Steiner shit.
He was like, normally it's 33.3%, but tonight it's going to be 66.6%, which means that we have 188.8% chance. He didn't say that, but that would have been great if he did.
Toxic Attraction versus Dewdrop and Nikki Ash. Toxic Attraction won that, I believe.
Yeah, but apparently Nikki
Dewdrop
on
won.
On WWE.com took the mask off and threw it at Dewdrop.
I didn't see that one. I wish I'd have seen that one.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, Dewdrop and Nikki won that match. Then we've got Apollo Crews came and did a vignette, blah blah blah. Then we had JD McDonough versus Wesley.
Where Wesley lost.
Yes, he lost.
After he said, "Oh, he's been doing pretty good recently," and I was like, "He's gonna get squashed," and then he got squashed.
Then we had Roxanne Perez against Miko Satomura.
Yeah,
and
this guy.
Yeah, so don't.
Where her
orthopedic Skechers.
Her Skechers.
Orthopedic Skechers.
Orthopedic Skechers.
Man, stop talking about Oscar's grandmama. Anyway.
You mean Jason's favorite wrestler?
Yeah. Oh, he gets so mad at that.
He gets so mad.
Especially when I said her orthopedic Skechers, that made him so mad. But that's what she had on. She had
like, really, Tino? That's just wrong. That's just wrong, man.
Those shoes she was wearing looked like Skechers and orthopedic. They were like, or they had the thick soles.
Yes, they did.
So after that,
I'm not disputing it. I agree with you.
Now they're spinning everybody else.
Just makes me cry laughing.
After that match, what's her face?
I like that one, Chris Barrett. That was funny.
What is?
He said
Skechers. So Cora Jane came at the end and hit Roxanne in the back, and that brought back Oscar's grandma to the ring to break that up. Then we have
it's Oscar's grandma from the other family.
Yeah, and then you had
Sumi Sakai. It's Mako, whatever her name is.
Then we had Ricochet and Trick Williams, which we knew Ricochet was going to win that match.
We knew Ricochet was going to win this match because Ricochet lost to what's his face? The North American
Carmelo
Hayes, yeah.
And then you had the best out of three, the first match out of the best out of three series, Nathan Frazier and Axiom, and Axiom won that match. And then blah 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 blah.
And then Braun and Bate versus
Gallus.
Who? Gallus and
Gallus was the name of their team.
Oh, right.
And their faction, and Gallus, Breaker and Bate won. All right. So not too much on NXT, but I
Asuka's
do.
dad's mom, not her mom's mom.
Oh my
We have
god!
fun with this joke. It's not even
Oh
funny.
my god!
Like it's almost like you passing gas in my bathroom last week.
I had to go in the office today, and I'm in a hallway bathroom, and the hallway, like, so you come out of one office, and there's this hallway, the whole row of offices, and then you come on this side, there's a kitchenette where people microwave their lunches, and then there's a there's like this bathroom, this huge bathroom,
And you
and
were
I'm in
like,
there. I was in there again, right? I'm like, damn it, and I had the fan on, and it went. It sounded. That's like what it sounded like. It's got echo. I'm like, oh man. I was like, and I was in there. I didn't know nobody. I was like, whoo, I feel better. I was in there talking to myself, right? I washed my hands. I came out the bathroom.
and someone's standing there like, I'm glad you feel better.
My CEO came out the kitchen. And she looked at me. She said, "You okay?" I was like, "Yes, ma'am." And she started laughing. She goes, "It happened to me last week."
Dude, it's not even as funny as last week when you're sitting in the bathroom and you're laughing so hard that you're like.
But I wasn't. I was laughing because I was trying to hold it, and then I was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna let it go." And I think and then it can, and you were Jesus. That's what made it funny. Was your reaction?
Oh Jesus! Oh Jesus!
But anyway,
Take the wheel. Anyways,
so what we want to talk about, obviously,
oh,
is
what do we want to talk about?
AEW.
Oh, do we?
And who kicked off AEW, Rob? I'm gonna let you go. I did the
Who
run through of
kicked
NXT.
off AEW? Tony Khan kicked it off with a taped promo, which got the crowd in Buffalo, New York, to boo Tony Khan. Specifically mentioning that they needed to. Sorry, I'm still trying to catch my breath from all that laughing. The breakdown after the pay-per-view, which was a banger of a pay-per-view. We all admit that it was. But the fact that because his EVPs and his world champion all decided to just get into a brawl backstage, which included biting, chairs being thrown, a black eye, and at least one person being knocked out. At least by all accounts, that's what you hear at this point. They decided to strip all of those members, so all four of them were stripped of their world championships, and they were going to crown new trios champions on Wednesday night between Death Triangle and
Best friends
and the Best Friends in Orange Cassidy. And then there was also where they were stripping CM Punk of the world title and starting a 6-person tournament of champions.
So do you think that was a good call?
Interestingly enough, if you go back to Sunday night, right after hearing about everything, maybe Monday morning, one of the people in our Facebook group mentioned a tournament of champions, as well as the Death Triangle versus. I don't think they got the Best Friends with Orange Cassidy right, but they did get Death Triangle right. And then they got most of the people in the 6-person tournament correct. So I was very surprised at how well they called all of that. I thought that was pretty crazy to see that they got almost all of it correct, right? Um, I didn't like Death Triangle versus Best Friends in Orange Cassidy because I would have thought that Hangman Page and Dark Order would have been in line to win the Trios Championships. However, they did allow Adam Page to be in the tournament for the world title. And while I would agree that that was the right call, that didn't stop Pac from being a double champ by winning the Trios Championship.
So what I'm thinking, because they had started um, a program with him and Juice Orange Juice Cassidy, Orange Cassidy. So I'm wondering, yeah, I'm thinking Juice. So I'm wondering if they let uh, Orange Cassidy take that belt from Pac, or you
So
think
I
they'll
don't know if they're going to do that, but this is what I will say. They did give a reason why Dark Order wasn't in the trios match, and they said that there was an injury to one of the guys, and I think it was to John Silver, but it might have been to Alan Angels, who now I don't believe is actually under AEW contract anymore.
Mhm.
So it's very possible that that's what the whole plan there was. And ideally, the only other team that should have been up for that would have been the House of Black, but
I
Aleister
think
Black, Malachi Black, apparently received his release.
you,
So, or at
you
least
think
get
he's
time off to try to, get his head straight and everything else. So, ideally, you're almost out of trios because you don't have Red Dragon and Adam Cole because Bobby Fish has been released or at least not renewed his contract. So suddenly, your trios division, which seemed really full of people, doesn't have a lot of teams anymore.
you think a lot of people are do you think that Alistair's trying to go back to WWE?
I think ultimately that probably is his plan.
And I think you
Uh,
think Fish is going back. I think the Elite's going back. I think not the Elite. I'm sorry, Undisputed Era is going back.
so here's the thing:
Because where's Kyle O'Reilly?
Kyle O'Reilly's hurt.
Is
Adam
Cole
Cole,
still hurt?
Adam Cole apparently has a 5-year contract, which means he's now 1 year down. He's got 4 years to go. Kyle O'Reilly, with where he was being pushed, I would assume is probably in a similar situation. Bobby Fish, Bobby Fish was, and I said this when he was with NXT. He's injury prone. You're not going to give that dude a long-term contract. You're going to say, hey, let's see if you make it through the first year without any injuries, and if you do, we'll extend you. Well, guess what? He didn't. He got hurt in his first year with AEW. He got hurt. Now, don't get me wrong, dude's great. But I have a feeling, yes. Will he end up back at WWE? Sure. But right now, I think that the only spot that he walks into is a tag team with Roderick Strong.
Yeah.
And that's determined by how long Roddy's still got on his contract.
What about Black?
Malachi? So, all right. So everything that I've read and all the dirt sheets and everything else, so I'm just going by like what I've read everywhere with this. Malachi Black received a conditional release. And his conditional release says that there is 90 days, no compete anywhere, which means he's already been canceling bookings and everything else for at least the next 3 months. If that's the case, then you would think that that means that after those 3 months are up, he can negotiate with WWE again. And yes, he would show up almost immediately, probably
You
on
don't,
Monday Night Raw.
you don't think they wait like till the Rumble, something like that, to bring him back?
I mean, at 3 months, you're talking about December, so sure, right?
Yeah.
And preparing the character, getting him ready. But if you notice, Zelina Vega's also been held off TV.
She
So
hurt.
no, and here's what I've heard is that they're now on sabbatical. They're both on vacation. They're both taking time away, and and we're talking about AEW Dynamite right now, so I don't really want to go into it. But I will say that I've noticed a much tighter amount of talent being used on even a 3-hour program like Monday Night Raw. You know, like, yes, you do have 6-way matches and things like that happening. You've got tag team matches. You've got all that. But the amount of people being used, it almost reminds me of the pandemic time where, like, we would sit there and we go, wow, I can't believe that Humberto Carrillo and his cousin are being used so prominently. And it's literally because they were two of the wrestlers that were like, yeah, we'll wrestle through the pandemic. We don't care. You know what I mean? But anyway, so with Malachi, you know he wants to be near his wife. You know he'd rather be traveling with her and everything else. And mentally speaking, and one of the things that he brought up was his mental health.
Yeah.
If his mental health is so really important, then you would think that being near his wife is a big factor of that.
Yes.
And I would think that that's one of those things that Tony Khan really can't dispute and can't argue. So even though he thought, okay, I'm going to have this talent for 3 years or whatever, letting them out of the contract after a year, I think is fair if you're not happy. And at this point, Tony's got to be thinking, my roster is way too fucking big. So if people don't feel like they're being treated properly and they don't feel like they're getting over where they need to or anything else, then we should let them go.
But he's scared of that WWE. He's scared they're going to go back to WWE.
Of course he is. And that's why he's making them sign 90-day no competes or whatever. But think about it like this. Remember remember at the beginning of the pandemic when Vince started getting a bunch of people saying we want out of our contracts, right? What did they do at the beginning?
They let him go.
No.
Didn't they?
Remember, they started signing everybody to like $250,000 a year contracts.
That's right. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Vince started going, why are we spending all this money on people we're not using? He basically did the Eric Bischoff thing at the height of WCW, where they were just signing 250 talents a year to $200, to $100,000 minimum contracts, and basically going, yeah, we've got Ted Turner's money, we can just do this. Well, Vince McMahon was realizing, hey, we're a publicly traded company, and we're trying to sign FTR to a $250,000 a year contract, and we're not even going to use them. So what did he start doing? He started letting them go. And not only did he start letting them go, but when he got asked about it, if you remember, it sounded cocky at the time, but he literally said in one of those quarterly earnings reports, he literally said, we're probably going to give them a lot more talent. And he did, because every single one of those people seemed to show up on AEW. And all of a sudden, Tony had a bloated roster. He's only got 3 hours of TV. I don't care about Dark. I don't care about Dark Elevation. He's only got 3 hours of TV. And yet he's got the entire Ring of Honor roster, the entire AEW roster, the AEW women's roster, the roster.
I think when he
from New Japan, Impact. I mean,
I think when he got that ROH, I think he had a plan on having another show, just ROH, and I don't think that's come to fruition yet. So I think he had a plan. It just didn't pan out.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, the Briscoes are under contract with ROH because Turner doesn't want them on their TV, right? So I totally agree with you. I think that you're right. But he's got like 200 wrestlers under contract, and he's got 3 hours of TV. Now,
And
granted,
he uses the same ones over and over too, which is a waste.
well, so that's a great point. And that's a great thing that you just brought up. Now, I do want to point out that the people that are in that world title tournament are Jon Moxley, 2-time AEW world champion, right? Chris Jericho, first ever AEW world champion and 8-time world champion, right? Hangman Page, world champion at AEW. Sammy Guevara, longest reigning
TNT
champion. Darby Allin, oh wait, I'm sorry, 3-time TNT champion. Darby Allin, longest reigning TNT champion. And Bryan Danielson, 3-time world champion, though never in AEW, right? So those are your 6 guys in that tournament. First match, Bryan Danielson versus Hangman Page. Bryan Danielson goes over because obviously he had the draw and he lost to Hangman, so this gets him his one-up again. Also, I think that it's kind of saying, hey, even though we're not punishing Hangman Page, we're still punishing him for going into business for himself with the whole CM Punk thing.
Yeah.
So while we're not going to punish him like we did everybody else because he wasn't stupid, he still went off script.
He cost it.
Off scripts.
He cost it.
I don't know if he did.
That's what set CM Punk off.
Right, but okay, so let me put it this way, and let me ask you this, Tino. If that had happened in NXT, I'm not even saying WWE where Vince was in charge, but if that happened in NXT, where you might be able to sit there and go a little bit off script, who's ultimately in charge?
Triple H.
So who ultimately knows what's going to be said during those conversations?
Triple H.
So if it wasn't approved by him, would that guy have been wrestling the next week?
No.
They would have sat him down. They'd have been like, you ever go off script like that again, you're gone. Right? Tony doesn't do that. Tony doesn't do that because Tony's not a wrestler. Tony's not a wrestling company owner. Tony is a businessman. Tony is a rich businessman who is a fan. So that's why when he's sitting there listening to CM Punk give that entire diatribe and breakdown of communication at that scrum, he's sitting there like, and all the while he's literally going, because he knows he could have stopped all of it. The fact that like the WWE media blitz after Clash of the Castle, yes, it had the world champion walk off, but it was all staged.
Yeah.
It was all part of the plan. When that guy asks the question and Roman Reigns says, I'm going to give you the opportunity to do the thing that those people in Cardiff wouldn't do. And he stood up and he put the belts on his shoulders and he said, acknowledge me. And when the guy wouldn't acknowledge him, Roman Reigns walked off. You know, like it was all part of, like, it was, you know, who's in charge. Triple H said, they ask you a question about this, don't answer it. They ask you a question about this, don't answer it. They ask you, like, how you feel after the match. You tell them to acknowledge you. Because that's who you are. That's your character. That's what you're portraying. You don't sit there and go, I haven't talked to that guy in 10 years. Fuck that guy. Fuck this guy. Fuck the EVPs. Fuck the fact that I threw out my shoulder and my tricep and everything. Fuck all that.
Yeah.
You know, you want to sit there and bring up your torn tricep. Hey, My arm feels like it's literally dangling at this point. I think I'm out for 8 to 12 months. Okay. Guess what? That's something they're going to have to deal with, and it's something that they're going to know tomorrow when they get the MRI, right? But, like, that would never happen in the WWE. There's only one, there's two guys in the WWE today that could get away with doing anything like that and get away with it.
Roman?
No.
No?
Brock Lesnar and John Cena. And neither one of them would do it. And the reason why I said they could do it is because Brock Lesnar, when he heard that Vince McMahon retired, left the building. But when they calmed him down and they had a business conversation with him, he came back, he did the job, and he went home after SummerSlam. Like, and so Tino and Chris Barrett, like everybody that's listening, you go back and you listen to the guys that weren't scripted in WWE back in 2012, 2013 when CM Punk was having his big run. Triple H sat there and said, you say you want change, you say you want it to be different, you say you want all this, but what you really mean is you want it to be you at the top. John Cena said the same thing. And guess what? They're not wrong. CM Punk got to call himself the best in the world, got to have t-shirts made of that, even has t-shirts made of it now. And the fact of the matter is this. Yes, he did bring in AEW's biggest rating ever. But what happened immediately after? Ratings went right back to where they were. He does command the two highest ratings that they've ever had. His first appearance on Rampage, 1.3 million viewers.
His first match.
No. And his match against Jon Moxley for the world title, where Jon Moxley beat him in 3 minutes and 1 second, 1.25 million viewers. They have never gotten to those levels again. And I'm not saying they won't, because this episode of Dynamite, I'm going to get off of that topic now. This episode of Dynamite kind of felt like a reboot.
I think also.
Okay, go ahead.
Please, it told you.
I've been on a soapbox here. I'm sorry.
I think it also showed you who's going to win that tournament and who MJF is going to feud with now.
If they don't go with Danielson, they are making the biggest mistake that the company has.
I agree, but I think they're going with Mox, and I think it's going to be Mox and MJF.
Here's why I don't think they go with Mox. And yes, okay, so they open the show, and MJF comes out, and MJF cuts the biggest babyface promo of his life, only to have Moxley come out, get a bigger babyface pop, call MJF out for being a piece of shit liar, and MJF reneging on all of it to sit there and say, you're absolutely right, I fucking hate these people, and I'm being paid a lot of money to sit here and not give a shit about any of you. So it was a great promo. Really did make you think that Moxley's going to be the guy that wins, right? Moxley can't be that guy anymore. They literally have taken the belt off him twice. If you keep going back to Moxley right now, you're basically saying that no one else in your entire company can hold the world title.
So you think they'll go with Danielson, though?
I think they'll go with Danielson, and I think that beating Hangman Page was a huge sign of that. I think they and I don't know if they will. Okay, I don't know what's going on in Tony Khan's head, but what I do know is this: you want a guy that you know is not on drugs, Brian.
Okay.
You want a guy that you know represents the best part of professional wrestling, Brian Danielson. You want a guy that can literally talk about everything that MJF is saying he's going to do in 2024, which is go to Triple H and become part of the WWE system and become a world champion with them and do all that stuff. And you have the last guy that was all that and got thrown to the wolves. And every time something happened, they took it away from him. And he still clawed his way up to the world championship. So he can sit there and say, Max, you don't have a chance. You can't do it because the only reason why I did it was because all these people got behind me. And you know that's going to start one of these, even though he's not going to do this.
Well, you can't, can he?
Oh, he doesn't have to go like this. The people are going to do it.
I know, but if he does, because that WWE thing that'll sue him and blah blah blah.
They can't own a hand chant.
Or the yes, if he goes yes, then
Can they own the word yes? I don't think so. So my point though is if there is anybody out there that truly can give the people what they want, and here's where I go with this. Okay. MJF, we've already seen him versus Moxley. We've already seen him versus Jericho. We haven't seen him against Sammy Guevara, but and while I do think him and Sammy Guevara in the future could be that, they're both heels. So literally right now, your options are a heel Jericho, a heel Sammy, a babyface Moxley who just lost the title to CM Punk twice. Well, he lost it once, but you know what I mean. He's lost the title twice, and he lost it to Hangman Page as well. And a babyface Danielson right now. So who do you go with? And I want to point out one other thing. Tony Khan is ratings. He literally is addicted to the ratings. He's addicted. Okay? Like, look in his eyes. Everyone talks about him being a coke fiend and all this other shit. The fact is he's addicted to the rating. He's addicted to being able to say that Dynamite was the number one cable rated show on TV on Wednesdays, right? CM Punk gets to be CM Punk with CM Punk's music that he had in WWE. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Bryan Danielson, you look at him, you know it's Daniel Bryan, right?
And his music still, it starts off the same.
Starts off exactly the same. So everybody else, Moxley doesn't even look like the guy that wrestled in WWE anymore.
Shaved his head.
He shaved his head.
I lost weight.
He's in great shape now. But he is not Dean Ambrose anymore. Chris Jericho is Chris Jericho, but Chris Jericho's a heel right now. And that's why Chris Jericho's doing the whole Lionheart thing, so that he doesn't have to let you sing his theme song.
Asshole.
Hey, I like the White Zombie song. My point is, and you understand and you agree. So the only logical choice, because you're not going to go with Sammy Guevara right now, is Bryan Danielson. Am I wrong?
Now I'm trying to think of who's in that tournament, because Guevara already lost Friday. We'll
Hangman's
talk
out.
about that.
Darby Allin's out after Rampage.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's Sammy versus Moxley. It's Jericho versus Danielson. Danielson versus Moxley is what I assume is going to be the and it could end up being Danielson versus Guevara because they could figure out a way to have like Jericho cause Moxley to lose his match, which would start a secondary feud between Jericho and Moxley.
Yeah.
Which I'm okay with, by the way.
All right. All right. Let's dive in. So the first match was the trios match. What'd you think of it?
It's a hell of a match. I don't really care about the trios matches though.
Women's Championship eliminated Tori and Penelope.
First match that Penelope Ford's had in like 18 months, it felt like. And she was impressive. Like I didn't think it was going to be as competitive as it was, and it was a competitive match. So kudos to the ladies actually making it seem like their women's division is almost up to par with WWE's at this point.
The Acclaimed music comes out, but Swerve in Our Glory comes out to the Acclaim's music.
No, the Acclaimed actually came out.
But when the music hit, it was Swerve that came out.
And Swerve came out. Swerve heard that crowd and cut a heel promo. If you notice, Keith Lee was not with him.
Yep.
And I think that's going to cause some disruption between the two.
TNT Championship, Wardlow and Tony Nese. Enough said. And then we had the Danielson Hangman match.
It was a banger. But it didn't even close out the show.
The closing match was the banger. And I was surprised. Wheeler Yuta and Daniel Garcia for the ROH Pure Championship. Garcia showed me something.
Go ahead.
I mean,
talk about it.
Oh, I'm just saying. I hate when Bleacher Reports does that. I looked down and saw a spoiler for NXT show. Damn it!
Well, I think you actually called that, didn't you, while you were at my house? Because it just popped up on my screen.
You saw it too.
So should we go ahead and tell the crowd?
I don't know. They don't like spoilers. The
Chris Barrett, absolutely. Scissor me, Daddy-O.
I just Garcia. I'm so used to him. Like Will Yuta, because he's part of the Blackpool Combat Club or whatever, always seemed tougher to me than maybe a Daniel Garcia. You know what I'm saying? I didn't think that would be as hard hitting of a match as it was. That's what I'm saying. It was a banger.
Well, also take into account that Daniel Garcia was in front of his hometown crowd. It leads to more of the story of Danielson versus Jericho, which happens next week.
And do we think that and I read somewhere that do we think that Blackpool opens arms to one Garcia?
Probably.
So you think you see him?
I wouldn't be surprised if it's Yuta that actually puts the hand out and then slaps him across the face, because that seems to be how they let people in.
Yeah. So what'd you think of the match?
It was good. It was good. I was a little surprised that was the closer, considering the fact that you had the previous world champion and his previous number one contender go on right before them. And knowing that Danielson won his match against Hangman to then walk out to the ring and put the belt on Daniel Garcia, and tell the world that he's and hear the crowd sitting there saying that's pro wrestling, because obviously Jericho came out. Jericho looked very upset by the whole thing, and this is what makes Jericho probably one of the top 5 talents ever in pro wrestling, is that when the crowd is saying that's pro wrestling, he's like, he's not a pro wrestler. He's a sports entertainer. And he's just getting angry and angry. I mean, it really was Lionheart Chris Jericho back when David Panzer would like put his jacket on the ground. You know, like that's what it was. No. I loved every minute of it because
the temper tantrum.
Because it extends 2 stories. It extends the Daniel Garcia versus the Jericho Appreciation Society, but it also extends the Jericho versus Danielson story. So it's great. It's great for pro wrestling, and more than anything else, Tino, I'm gonna say that this episode of Dynamite, it wasn't perfect,
but it cleaned up a lot of stuff.
But it was better and better flowing than probably 8 of the last 12 months.
I give you that.
You know, like there's been some really good shows, but a lot of times people sit there and they go, man, the flow of that show, there was something wrong with it. Like all of a sudden you just have Adam Cole coming out right after this person just did like 3 tope suicidas, you know, like, and you're like, something's not right with the pacing. But this show seemed to be paced really well. And my first thought of that was, you didn't have people getting in the way of a good show. And I mean that by saying, yeah, I'm talking about the Young Bucks. Yeah, I'm talking about Kenny Omega. Yeah, I'm talking about CM Punk. None of them and none of their egos got in the way of putting together a good show. You know what I mean?
I agree.
And that's something that I think the more that you take into account how Young Bucks matches go and how they need 30 minutes of the entire 120-minute program to put on their match, I think you're going to get better flowing cards with how that is. Now, I do also want to point out that apparently CM Punk and the Elite were all removed from like the opening segments and the video packages and everything else. So I don't think these are short-term suspensions.
Well, CM Punk's going to be out with injury anyway for what I think he said 9 months.
I think his contract's going to end and he's just going to be gone. We might get, if he's got a certain amount of matches that he's got to do before his contract's over, we might get where his contract isn't up yet. But otherwise,
he's gone.
And you know what? If I'm wrong, hopefully they get his ego in check. Because like you saw it on the internet, they talked about how like when he first showed up, he's like, there's a hell of a lot of young guys in the back that I want to wrestle. And now all of a sudden he's sitting there at the press conference going, I'm old as fuck and I got too many kids that I got to deal with in the back. Like that literally is 1 year removed. So, anyways. Anything else?
Nope. Dynamite.
Well, we just did Dynamite. So how about this?
SmackDown.
I was out of town, so I did not get to see SmackDown. I heard it was good, though.
What happened on SmackDown? I thought you would. That's the main thing that happened on SmackDown.
Joined the Bloodline, and I don't know if you saw Rikishi's post, but it said how often do you get to see three of your sons all representing the biggest faction in all of sports entertainment? And then, of course, Sami Zayn replied to it with, "Don't you mean 4 sons, including the honorary Uso?"
I can't with Sami.
He's so good, dude. He's so good.
I'm gonna tell you, the match of the night for me was the Brawling Brutes and Imperium. It started the same way. It started the same way, and I don't know why they do. It's just Sheamus and Gunther just in the middle of the ring. No, and then the other two are their other teammates, 4, are just going at it. And they're
because they realized that what they had in Cardiff was special.
So now every time they're just gonna let the people fight around them, they're just gonna sit there and look at each other every time they fight now.
Do you think about every major boxing match that you've ever seen? Isn't that how they start?
Yep, I see what you're saying, but this is every time. It's going to get old soon. You know what I mean?
Well, when it starts to get old, hopefully one of them is smart enough to sit there and just pop the other one in the mouth.
Yeah.
But it was a hell of a match. Every time those 6 guys are in the ring together, it's a hell of a match.
So
Go ahead.
So the bloodline comes out with Sami. You know, they come out, they got the ones in the air, and they start to introduce Solo Sikoa, and Sami gets hype, and he's trying to do all the like, and he's the man. It's like, yeah, and this is the one, yeah, and then Sami goes, no cap. He said no cap, and they look at him like, and Jimmy's like, what are you doing? Stop. And so finally they call out Solo Sikoa. He comes out, and of course Sami's trying to kiss up to him, and this is funny because Sami goes to shake his hand, and so he just just takes the mic and starts talking. I'm like, wow. And so
I hate that, man.
Huh?
I hate that.
What?
Well, I hate that moment because like Sami is so good that only one of the bloodline seems to be into Sami being part of the bloodline, and that's Jimmy.
Mm-hmm.
Jay isn't into it. Solo's not into it, and Roman knows that it's a joke.
So Solo's out there talking shit,
right?
And Drew comes out with a chair because he's pissed off because Solo cost him the match, right? So he runs to the ring. The Usos jump out the ring. Sami jumps out of the ring, and Solo stands there. And he goes to start going to blows with Drew. Drew gets upper hand. He gets Solo down. He goes to hit Solo with the chair. Sami pushes Solo out the way and takes the chair shot. And then Drew challenges Solo to a match later on that night. And that's how that. Then we have the women's tag team champions, Raquel and Aaliyah against Toxic Attraction. Yeah, Raquel and Aaliyah win. Number one's contender 5-way elimination match to see who's going to face your girl for the title, Liv Morgan. It is Xia Li, Sonya Deville, Natty, Lacey Evans, and Ronda Rousey. And Ronda wins that.
Yeah, disappointed by that, by the way.
I still think that they're building up something to both Rousey and Baszler because they had a backstage encounter where she came out to Baszler came out to congratulate Rousey, and Rousey's like, yeah. She goes, what's even better than winning? And she gets in her face something like being the badass that you were before. And she kind of like puts her down. And she walks away. So she's just like poking the bear.
Said something like, "How about you come with me and we just go dominate the women's tag division or something. And so I mean, like, I think they are leading to that, and I bet that the problem that you run into with all of that, and tell me if I'm wrong here, Tino. The problem you run into with all of that is that Ronda is probably on a year-to-year contract,
Mm-hmm.
right? So she's on WrestleMania to WrestleMania. So ideally, you want to keep her happy if you want to keep her renewing her deal, right?
Right.
So if you know that you've got Ronda versus Charlotte, which Ronda won, and then you say the plan is for you versus Becky next year, which was always what everyone heard the plan was. To now all of a sudden sit there and go, hey, we're going to have you lose to Liv Morgan twice. We're going to have Shayna lose to Liv Morgan clean. But what we want to do now is take you two and turn you into, as I called them, the Sisters of Destruction.
What she actually said was she told Baszler to let her know when she's ready to break some bones and take over the show. So I don't think that necessarily meant for them to team up. I think that just meant she's trying to get her to turn back into that killer.
That's totally a let's start a tag team or start a faction.
Okay.
But ideally there, and like I said, ideally, if you're in that situation, you're doing all that, like do you think Ronda thinks that she's being utilized properly? If you go ahead and you put her in a tag team?
I think they're pushing her to win her belt back, and I think it's gonna be her and Ronda. I don't know why. I think that's where they're going with it.
I mean, I think that they are going towards Ronda winning the belt back.
And going against Shayna for it. Her feuding with Shayna over the belt.
I don't know, man.
Shayna had that big run at NXT under Triple H, which means Triple H.
We've already seen Shayna elevated. Shayna's now elevated again.
And that's what I'm saying. They're going to elevate her into that main event picture. I think that's where they're going with it.
Well, I would still have Shayna win before I would have Ronda win. That way you at least have the heel Shayna going up against possibly, what they want is the babyface Ronda.
Hmm.
So
or they might be trying to keep.
I would do it if I were booking. I would work it into a three-way dance and Shayna come out on top. That causes the instant dissension between Ronda and Shayna. Especially if it's one of those moments where Ronda hits her finisher, she goes to pin Liv, she gets pushed out of the ring by Shayna, and Shayna pins for the win. That way, Shayna didn't even get to use her coquina clutch or whatever to do that. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I would do it. Because
I also think too. I think even if Shayna's not in the picture, B, what I think they're going to do is Ronda. Either way, Ronda's winning the title. B, Ronda wins the title and keeps up that feud she's got going with what's his face, Scrap Daddy. And I think it's going to be the McMahon Stone Cold thing all over again. He's going to try everything he can to get that belt off of her and blah blah blah. Yes, Mandy.
Yes, it is.
And Chris Barrett, she's Bailey is on Raw. She's going after Bianca. So if she gets in his trap, it'll be the Raw title. And they might be a dominant force on Raw. So
Not
then you had
out there, right?
Then you have backstage their Solo at first is like, yeah, we'll go out there, and they were like, yeah, you go out there and you do it, and Sam's like, yeah, I'll go out there with you, and and then Jay's like, no, skip that, we all go out there. He didn't want him going out there with Sam. He got jealous. No, we'll all go out there. we'll all go out there and have your back and blah blah
Well,
blah
it
blah
is
blah.
their younger brother, so
Yeah, but he was going to let him go out there by himself until Sammy said he was going. He's like, no, we'll all go. The next you had Hit Row, Street Profits, Maximel Models against Los Lotharios. I mean, you knew Hit Row and Street Profits were going to win that. Braun Strowman comes back, has a match with Otis, power bombs his big ass, and then we have Drew and Solo Sikoa, and Drew wins by disqualification because
you see this?
NXT. So
Yeah, but
Drew,
what's it missing?
the banner down here where it says we're talking about SmackDown and not NXT. I see it doesn't have 2.0, but Drew wins by disqualification because what's his dick comes in and chokes him out.
I agree. I'm with you.
I'm trying to think of what else. That's it. But the colors are missing, Barrett says. But it's not black and gold.
It's white and gold.
Why not go back to black and gold if you're gonna? Why white and gold?
Well, you got to go new. You can't go back.
Oh. All right. I mean, Rampage. It's
Only thing
matches.
we really talk about Rampage: Sammy Guevara versus Darby Allin. Sammy wins.
Was there one more match?
There was the Claudio versus Dax match.
That was a good match.
It was a great match.
That was a good match.
Unfortunately, it was on like WWE main event.
It was what?
It was like WWE main event.
What do you mean? No what?
Nobody watched it.
I watched it. You watched it.
You said it was a good match. What else?
I mean, you had two wrestling technicians on there. I knew that Dax wasn't going to win that match. So I didn't know why they bothered to hype it and you know what I'm saying? They're not going to take that bet off of Claudio. They're damn sure not going to give it to Dax.
You know as well as I do that a match like that, if Dax were to win that, right?
Yeah.
What does that really mean about Ring of Honor?
Two WWE guys won their top belt.
Well, yeah, I guess. But no, I mean, okay, so Claudio, we have always said Claudio is a worldwide main event talent.
Yeah.
So if he loses to Dax, does that mean Dax is elevated to worldwide main event talent, or does that mean that Claudio isn't as good as we said he was?
I don't think if Dax would have won, Claudio, it affected Claudio and made him not a main event talent though.
But it would have.
Why though? So you're saying Dax isn't good then?
Well, here's what I'm really saying. We know how good Dax is, but Dax still wants to be a tag team wrestler.
Yeah.
So, is Dax the Anvil, or is he the Hitman? Because right now, him wanting to be in that tag team, he's the Anvil. They both are. Neither one of them's the Hitman. And because of how deep the AEW roster is, he can keep having these bangers and matches and make himself look like the excellence of execution.
Mm-hmm.
The fact of the matter is is that he's still never going to get past where Adam Cole is on the roster. He's
Who?
not going to get to the Hangman level. He's not going to get to the Sammy Guevara level at this
Who?
point.
Dax?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he's Asheville's own, baby. We love him. But it don't matter. As good as he's going to be, if he still wants to wrestle with Cash Wheeler, then fact of the matter is that, like, he's always going to be a tag team wrestler.
Mm.
It's not until they make the decision of super kicking the other guy in the face that they can finally get to that next level. And unfortunately, the fact of the matter is there's no room at that next level for him right now. So what it really means is that, yeah, it would have hurt Claudio if Claudio lost that match to Dax.
Yeah. One more thing I forgot to say about SmackDown, and it was something that it happened off the air, is one of those WWE extra things.
Sure.
The Maximum Male models were backstage sulking, and Max Dupree came in the room. Yeah, Max Dupree came in. Max Dupree came in the room and trying to give him a pep talk. He goes, and there's one thing I learned. He goes, and he got real thought. It's like, if there's one thing I learned, it's at the end of the day, you just gotta walk. You gotta walk into the night.
No, he
Yeah.
said he said you have to walk through the night to get to the day or something like that.
No. He said he's got to walk through the day to get to the night. Because remember, his name was LA Knight. You got to walk through the day to get to the night. Then he goes, yeah. And he walks out. I'm like, he's just, yeah. So LA Knight seems like he's coming back. So when you think about it, LA Knight has it. He's good on the mic. He's good in the ring.
And Triple H knows it.
So they'll pull him away from that. I mean, they'll probably keep Maximum Male models going with the sister, but let just bring him back as LA Knight. Let him do his thing. He's a modern day Rock. Think about it.
I don't know if they'll take him away from them yet. I think they'll turn on him. Like, I could see him coming back as LA Knight and being part of Maximum Male models and actually, like, doing that whole kind of thing, and then having them turn on him because he's got his own thing in mind, and that would actually turn him babyface. Because right now, Maximum Male models is a heel group because nobody likes them.
And it's dumb. It's dumb. Dumb.
It's
dumb.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Dumb.
No, it's not true. I could sit there and make an argument as to it's getting two guys on TV that weren't on TV before. Technically, four people on TV because it's got the girl and LA Knight, right?
Well, the girl was the chick from NXT who was with Cro-Magnon Man and what's his name?
I think what's really funny at this point is that you're willing to accept the LA Knight name just because it's not Max Dupree.
You know what I want him to go back to? I want him to go back to Eli Drake, but they won't let him.
Well, no, they won't. And it's going to be a long time before you see a WWE talent allowed to call themselves what they want to call themselves. Now, Kenny Omega would be able to come in as Kenny Omega. Right? So, I want to see Mason Mansour fired alongside Hit Row and Los Lotharios to give Truth and Gargano and Brock more money. So,
Brock's not coming back.
So, I do want to say this. The one downside...
Hit Row's hot right now.
What?
Hit Row's hot right now.
The one downside I see to Triple H taking over WWE creative is that I haven't seen Truth on TV. Now, I'm not saying I want to see the 24/7 championship, but Ron the Truth Killings is a huge talent that should be rewarded for his longevity with the company. I mean, remember, this is a guy that in 2012 was in a tag team with The Miz to face The Rock and John Cena.
Yep.
And now he's not being used.
Yeah.
So don't go falling asleep. You started up.
The only thing that stuck out to me on Raw, there's a couple of things actually stuck out to me on Raw, but I think the most entertaining to me part of Raw was when The Miz had his interview at the house.
That was not the most entertaining.
One of the most entertaining.
Well,
What was the most entertaining?
Well, I'm going to say that Raw itself was a very entertaining program.
Yes. Okay. The segment that made me pop, I should say, was the interview at the house.
There was a segment that made me pop much more than that segment. And I will go ahead and talk about it right now.
Yeah, because I slept.
So it started with the backstage segment between Austin Theory and Alpha Academy. And Alpha Academy basically said that Johnny Wrestling after tonight was going to be known as Johnny Shoes.
That was good.
And then Johnny versus Gargano, or Johnny Gargano versus Chad Gable was a hell of a match. And it was a match that I'm going to tell you, I had been looking forward to, knowing that they had both come up through NXT and never really, that I know of, actually got to wrestle that match before. Because if you think about it, American Alpha?
Yeah.
Versus DIY were two different generations of NXT. And that would have been, holy shit, imagine Jason Jordan and Chad Gable versus Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. Okay? Just think about that for a second. While watching this match, I also started thinking about the fact that they went with the storyline that that Jason Jordan was Kurt Angle's kid. And it started making me think, what if they brought Kurt Angle back to say that it really wasn't Jason Jordan and it was Chad Gable that was his kid instead? I know that it had nothing to do with the story or anything else, but I would have loved that being part of the story, you know?
Yeah.
But Gargano gets the win. Otis ends up jumping and getting involved. Austin Theory ends up hitting Gargano with the Money in the Bank briefcase.
Mm-hmm.
They go to commercial. When they come back, Austin Theory starts talking shit. And Kevin Owens comes out. And
that promo was fire.
No moment on Raw had the raw emotion of Owens going full babyface, mind you. Like a couple weeks ago, we were like, well, maybe he's going to be the first tweener ever.
No, I read today he is internally he's a babyface now on the Raw.
Well, knowing that he is now sitting there saying that me and Johnny Gargano are 1 in a million, and people like you are a dime a dozen.
Yes.
Holy shit, dude. However, I do think it's going to end up leading to a 3-way dance match
for that case,
for the briefcase. And I think Johnny Gargano is going to be the one that sneaks out with it.
Yeah.
You know, because Kevin Owens can he says Roman owes him one. And
Roman says he don't know. Roman says he don't know anybody anything.
Right, but Kevin Owens is going to collect. But I think Johnny Gargano is going to walk out with that briefcase. And I hate that for Austin Theory, but I don't want Austin Theory to be world champion at 24 years old.
Not yet. Who's right now the youngest one? Is what? Is it
Randy
Randy or is it Randy or is it Brock?
Randy. Yeah, because right after it was.
Because Brock was saying he was the youngest too one time.
Well, he was, and then Randy ended up becoming younger 2 years later.
Got it.
So, but that was the moment on Raw. Like Kevin Owens, that emotional speech that he gave.
Then that fucking brawl.
Well, the fact that like Theory sat there and he's like, you'll never be me, Kevin. And then Kevin goes, well, if words aren't going to get through to you.
He smacked the shit out of him.
He just slapped the fuck out of him, man. And to Theory's credit, he didn't go down. He took it like a man.
Owens busted his nose at one point too. I think it was that forearm he gave him.
I wonder if it's that or when he went down to the mat, if he hit his own nose.
No, the announcers even said when he hit him and he threw him back in the ring, that's when he was busted. So
dude, that moment though, like when he busted him, again, to Theory's credit, he just took it because that's what you do. But even more to Kevin Owens' credit, he's like, you think a broken nose is all I'm going to do to you, bitch? And that made it on the TV. It was like, wow.
Yeah.
We got new tag team women's champions.
Shortest tag team reign.
You and I both knew it was happening.
I know. It's just
should have been
too soon. Yeah, too soon. Should have been on the pay-per-view.
I would have done it at a pay-per-view. There might not be a pay-per-view. There's Extreme Rules coming up, which the Owens and Theory nose breaking actually makes a lot of sense there.
I was waiting for him to call himself Dominic Guerrero, but he didn't.
It might be coming. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do it just so that they own the name.
Dominic Guerrero.
But I do also, other. I'll put it this way. When it comes to that entire thing, the one person that's becoming more and more of a star from all of this is Rhea Ripley. It's not Dominic.
Mm-mm.
Not the rest of the Judgment Day. It's not Finn. It's not Damian Priest. It's fucking Rhea Ripley that's becoming the star.
And she didn't do anything but stand there and talk for him and whispers in his ear.
Cleared to wrestle.
Huh?
I don't know if she's cleared to wrestle.
Well, there's no one for her to wrestle. They need to have.
No. But I don't know if she's cleared to wrestle.
Did she get hurt?
Don't you remember when she had like the head injury?
Oh yeah.
She hasn't wrestled since.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if she's cleared. So using her in this role of being Poppy is tremendous. And it's inventive and it's keeping her relevant, and it's doing more than keeping her relevant. It's making her a star.
Yeah.
So that's the way I feel about that one.
What'd you think of the match?
Which match?
Dominic and Edge.
So I watched it twice. Because last night I wasn't really paying attention to it while I had it on. So I watched it again today, and there were definitely moments where it looked like Edge was frustrated in the ring. And what I mean by that is it looked like Dominic was missing his cues.
Ooh.
And Edge was like waiting for him in certain moments in that match. And I was like, that's not good. But to have someone like Edge, who has a very limited contract, working with someone like Dominic means that he wants to work with Dominic.
Does you want to put Dominic over?
I don't know. I think it's a Dominic can get over while Edge goes over, as long as it's done correctly. However, last night's match, I think, shows Dominic's not really ready. But it still added life to Judgment Day that they didn't have before that. Like, they're just going on a lazy river before he turns heel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Finn versus Ray was a decent match. Dom versus Edge was a decent match, but it definitely shows the inexperience of Dominic. And if anybody wants to disagree with me, I'd love to hear it. But the fact is that I just Dominic's writing his dad's name right now, and it's gonna take a really good performance that doesn't involve a match with his dad for him to prove me wrong.
Yeah. I've been saying he wasn't ready.
Well, let me remind everybody that Randy Orton was always looked at as soft, very soft, until he finally had that match at Backlash 2004 against Mick Foley for the Intercontinental title. And it was a Extreme Rules match, barbed wire, thumbtacks, everything under the sun. I think they actually set a table on fire but didn't use it. I don't remember. I just know that, like, Randy Orton was always looked at as, it's great, but he's still Bob's kid. Until that match. And that match made everybody go, his whole legend killer gimmick was real.
And he was pretty boy.
Oh, he was a pretty, and so's Dominic.
Yeah, he's pretty boy. He wasn't tough enough.
Yeah. And I think that it's going to take that kind of match for Dominic to finally get the respect of his peers.
So who does he have?
Dues, man.
Who does he have that match with, though?
Dues. He's paid no. He's taken one F5 from Brock Lesnar. That's the closest thing to dues he's taken.
So who do we have? Who does he?
Edge is the kind of guy that would sit there and use the thumbtacks against him. But it's got to be so for him to get over in a way that we all sit there and go, okay, the kid's paid his dues, it's got to be his choice. He's got to sit there and tell Edge, we're going to do it in your kind of match.
Edge kill him. That's gonna be a table. That's gonna be a TLC match.
Extreme Rules, brother. TV 14.
But he doesn't go over then either.
What?
But he doesn't go over then either, right? He's not gonna be Edge in his own match.
So this is how I would do it. I would have Edge look like he's gonna win. He puts Dominic through all of the shit. So the thumbtacks, the barbed wire, the barbed wire board, the fire table, all that stuff. And then just like Mick Foley at WrestleMania versus Edge, because Mick's doing it alone, Rhea Ripley's the one that gets involved and causes Edge to lose the match. But you get Dominic over by making sure that he's the one that takes
all the major bumps.
The fire bump. You make sure that he's the guy that takes the thumbtacks. Bump. You make sure that he's the guy that sits there and tope suicida into 3 tables or whatever. Like, he's got to be the guy that really puts it all on the line. Otherwise, he's always going to be Ray's kid.
Yeah, he's got to do something to set himself apart.
Like, at this point, do you think of Randy Orton as Bob Orton's kid? Or do you think that Randy Orton's dad is Bob Orton?
Randy Orton's dad is Bob Orton.
You know what I mean? Like you know that Randy Orton has put a 14 world title career together, but he has also lived up to the hype. Right now, only reason why Dominic's even around is because the pandemic happened. And he's lasted 3 years.
Barely.
But you see what I mean? And suddenly he's got Eddie Guerrero's mullet. Like,
he's been growing that for a while.
Wasn't under contract with AEW right now. If I was WWE, I'd be calling her up and I'd be like, hey, you want to manage Dominic? That's what I'd be doing. Because then you really would be able to sit there and go, that's Dominic Guerrero.
Yeah.
Anyways.
That's all I got.
Do we want to go ahead and give the spoiler?
No.
Sure.
Do you get enough people pissed off at you on Facebook for throwing out spoilers? Now let these people watch the show. We'll get it out next week.
I just want to go ahead and say that 42 minutes ago, Sami Zayn just said, that's how we do.
Sami Zayn stupid. All right. Sami Zayn stupid.
It literally says, that's how we do. Anyways, Tino, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody how to like our shit.
You can check him on the Twitter machine. He is at Podcheck. I am Hootie Fan 91 on that is a Twitter on we're also Potsy and Tino on Twitter, Facebook. We're Potsy and Tino Show. You can check him out on Instagram. He's got all his handles. He's Rob Potsy Podcheck. He is Rob Podcheck. He is Junior High Horrors. He is
Immortal Comic.
Immortal Comic. I'm just SC Tino. On the TikTok, he is Rob Podcheck. He is what else
Rob
you got?
Podcheck on TikTok.
On TikTok. You can check us out here each week on this YouTube channel, the Pots and Pans Network. We want to say, please make sure you give us a like, a thumbs up, and subscribe, and buy our shit. We also want to say thank you to Adam's House Cat for our theme song, which is the wrestling song, which you can find on iTunes for 99 cents 99. And as always, until next week, we'll be thinking. Oh, yeah, dig it.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
See you, Michael. See you, Chris Barrett. Everybody else.
Thanks for playing.
I didn't even pull up the
You didn't.
I didn't. I was waiting for you to sit there and say more stuff. Here we go. We're out, folks.